We locked you out.
Yes.
Hey Tony, how's it going?
Thank you.
Oh, not yet. Tonight. Yeah, he ran to my husband this year.
Watch the door.
We really need to form for the dog, but. We do. I would love to have the new Mickey and stuff. There's one issue I think God does. Just trying to hear that.
Okay,
Okay,
no, yeah, this is all working.
this is
Let me
good.
see. Hey Tony, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're just trying
Okay.
to switch this over.
Well, now that I know where the meeting is, I want to get in my
Mm.
car. I'll be there in
Oh,
about.
yeah, take
minutes.
yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Jason, give me that other one, please. I have two members that's not gonna be here. Thank you. Put that there.
2, 3, 4. So Victoria, we do have a quorum. Unless you would like to wait for Tony to come in the room.
Let's get started. Before we call the order, do you have any other comments? Okay, any other comments online? All
No.
right, so with that, we will call to order. We do have a quorum. We have the agenda in front of us. The only thing I would like to add is in between number 2 and 3 on the action items. I would like to add 2.5 to discuss, defining grandfather request. For those that are asking for fee waivers and what that means for us moving forward.
Make a motion to pass it up.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that, do we have Charles or anyone else from the Crow Board online?
They're not online as of right now. If we could pass along those agenda items and get to,
0.5.
correct, and then we could get back to it once they're on. Okay.
Okay, so we will move along with the approval of meeting minutes. Those are in your packet. I'll give
This is all
everyone a
that was
second just to review that. And if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Thank you, Kathleen. Second, all those in favor? All right. Nikki, Parks and Rec update.
All right, as far as an update, what we have, apologize, I had it all written down.
Been a day.
It's been a day, I apologize. So we have, this upcoming Thursday, we have an ornament decorating event, partnered with the Celebration Foundation at Island Village Clubhouse, from 6 to 8 p.m. So as a Celebration resident, you're more than welcome to visit us at Island Village. And you can actually decorate an ornament, with your family. You can put your name on it, whatever you would like, something appropriate. It goes on the tree. During the holiday home tour, they're gonna visit Island Village Clubhouse, and that's like gonna be the community hall. A previous past event that Catherine assisted me with was November 1st. We did a pop-up holiday card making class. We had roughly about 10 to 15 residents attend. But I think if we get the word out a little bit more, we could get more people. It's the first one. It was a Friday night too. But in the near future, we're thinking about potentially doing a holiday pop-up event sometime in December where residents could come and wrap their Christmas gifts. To be determined on that. The next event that we have is Kids Night Out. That's December 13th over at Heritage Hall, 6 to 9 p.m. So far, we have 25 kiddos signed up. It's toys and kids in Toyland. No, it's okay. Kids in Toyland, and we're bringing in an entertainment company, Oddities Entertainment. Yes, so we're gonna bring some elves to have some fun activities with the kids. I thought I would give Danny and Allison a breather from kids all year.
Alex in a costume.
He's gonna be in a costume, don't worry.
All right.
Allison's been in one too, so
It's got, oh, don't
I've
worry.
been literally putting them through every costume possible. We have, in the upcoming weeks, or you've probably seen it, our pools are resurfacing. So this started with Spring Lake, which was last week. Then it's Spring Park, that's next, North Village, and then it's, Lakeside. They're moving up Spring Park. It was supposed to be sometime in December. They're moving it to November 25th is because they actually found out the pool heater broke. So they're trying to do that at the same time while it's closed. They thought it'd be best to not wait. Unfortunately, we know it's Thanksgiving's coming up, but I'm not sure if anybody wants to do a polar bear plunge. I wouldn't mind it for the competitive swimmers, but as long as a leisure swimmer, I'm not sure if that would feel comfy. Yes. And then I think that was all my updates. I hope I'm not missing any, but does anybody have any questions about any of those?
I can vouch your holiday or the Halloween house.
Oh, no, that's good to hear. Yeah, we talked about some pros and cons on the special events committee meeting, and then the upcoming events they have is December 13th, Holiday Fest in the next 2 weeks. Food Truck Friday, December 13th. December 6th, Holiday Fest, December 13th, food truck, and then December 19th is a holiday concert. So, and that'll be over at the athletic complex.
Moving on, we will move to number 5, which is the 2025 Celebration Marathon. They have asked us to be a sponsor as we have in the past. There's a packet in your packet that shows the request with the time starting on 8 a.m. on the 24th, concluding at 5 p.m. on the 26th.
And Victoria, I have Ken Zambito here, the point of contact. You're more than welcome to sit up at the table with us if you like. No, hey, you can sit up at the table if you like.
Supporting shirts for this year. It's got the same-
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Celebration, town logos on the back. We had to make a decision ahead of this because, well, we got to get the shirts made.
Correct.
So, yes, this will be the 12th annual running of the race. For those of you who don't know, we have again donated almost $1 million now. After this year, we'll cross the $1 million mark. Approximately 300, almost 400,000 have been in the community groups. A lot of high school sports teams, middle school, some of the churches, some of the community organizations. We also do Boys and Girls Club, Velocity as well, and Driving Place are beneficiaries for us. And we are just looking forward to doing the race again this year. Are there any questions about the specific ask? I know on the form, I never know how many tents we have, how many tables.
I have it written down for you, my
Yeah, so
friend,
it's
so
kind
I
of
can.
like, we sort of need everything, right?
Yes, yeah.
When we're doing the downtown, we did have a meeting with Mike with Lexon. He participated in that. We have to switch our finish line a little bit to accommodate Mike's request. So we'll actually be finishing right in front of Wolfgang's. That'll be the finish. So we're going to put most of the set up on Market Street. So Mike's gonna let us have Market Street starting late, Friday night, so all day Saturday. I think he's set up, the tents and tables on Market Street, so that'll save us a little bit of scrambling around Saturday evening like we're normally doing
Yeah.
on Market Street. So, other than that, pretty much the same as what we've done in the past.
Tony, we're discussing Celebration Marathon. There's a packet in your packet for it. Okay, I've got that. So, I know this, but in addition to all of that, almost every high school sports team gets their volunteer hour or gets some portion of their volunteer hours, being a water station or something like that. Do this. Okay, that works there too. It's a great community event. Any comments, questions, concerns? Anything from Parks and Rec?
So we've had a great partnership with Ken throughout these years. It benefits not just one organization, like you said, but the whole community. And I know sometimes, previously we were just only charging them staff time because we were a sponsor for them. And if we ever ran into issues, Ken and his volunteers would always jump in. So I know one year we had issues with staffing and he actually had additional volunteers assist us. So they're always willing to work around us. So I appreciate that.
So the sponsorship right now, just to clarify. Okay. Just to clarify, is the equipment, staff hours,
So the sponsorship would be for the equipment as well as facility usage.
facilities?
Yes.
We would continue to pay,
Mhm.
Okay.
which is typically around $4,000.
Yeah, last year you guys paid 3,600.
This is us, being sponsored. Do I have a motion to approve the 2025 Celebration Marathon as a, sponsor, our town is sponsoring? Okay, Lindsay, Marco, first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, moving on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
We are very happy. It's the manhole.
Yeah, it's available.
I love it. Yeah, there you go. I love it. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Seeing you.
Next thing we're moving on to is Classy Citizens LLC. This is a facility request. Again, a packet within your packet. Caroline, I'm just gonna give you a couple minutes to do your thing.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I printed out a packet too because I wasn't sure of the stuff, but my name is Caroline. I'm here to present a candle making class idea for you all. It's really something I put together myself and trying to expand. So about the Classy Citizen, I launched it in 2022. Started on Etsy and I've been to some local farmers markets. The goal is to start making beeswax candles. It's a clean wax that you can burn. I kind of came across this doing some research myself, looking for clean burning candles. So I'm like, I want to make it available to others. So that's why I started it. And now I'm wanting to offer a candle making class, kind of just a fun activity for people in the town to do. Next slide. About myself, just basically I'm a Floridian. I work in environmental science and policy for my actual job. So that's kind of why I was looking for a clean burning type candle. Cat lover. That's my cat. Basic overview of me. Next, why beeswax? So why I picked that type of wax. With my research, I found that beeswax emits, when you burn it, a negative ion into the air, which will attract to positive ions, which is brought in from dust and pollen and pollutants of that nature. So when you burn beeswax, it'll actually purify your air because the positive and the negative will negate. That's the only wax out there that does it. So I was like, I absolutely want to start with beeswax candles. So it's also good for your air to burn for the people that make these candles, and they're nice and scented and will clean your air as well. About our beeswax candles, everything that it doesn't contain, all the additives that you don't want, it's pure beeswax. I mix it with a little bit of coconut oil, which the people taking the class would do as well. Just makes it a cleaner burn. And then nothing else in there. It's also hypoallergenic, so it helps people with allergies. Why have a candle making class? Something unique and fun to do, activity for the family or a date night. You'll make it 100% by yourself. You can also select your own scent. Those are the essential oils that I'll bring with me to pick from. How the class will work. So on the next slide, I have an example of the sign-up sheet and scent selection sheets. And I will provide you with all the supplies that you need. That would be something like an individual burner, the wax, the essential oil, the jar, the lid, everything you need. I'll guide the class. I would need just from celebration, a room to host it in, maybe some tables, and I need enough outlets to plug into for the individual burners. Honestly, the price is, I'm open. I don't know if you guys have concerns about price or how that specifically would work. I just put a base idea in there. And I can take cash or credit cards or Square, however you all want to set that up, either in advance or day of. Still very flexible. So this next slide, this is the example sheets of how people would sign up, first name, last name, and their scent selection. And then the scent options would be listed on the right for them to pick from. When will classes occur? This is also kind of up to you guys, whatever works for the people that would want to sign up. I work 9 to 5, so it'd have to be evenings or weekends, but as often as the demand is there for, I'm willing to, you know, if it's once a week, once a month, multiple times a week, just depends. I was thinking around 10 people to start and see where we go from there. But again, it's all up in the air. Some examples of the candles that I've made, and this is exactly how people would be able to make them as well. I'm gonna provide the same tools here, the same frosted glass jar, the same label, so they can have their scent that they picked out.
Do they get to make the labels?
No, they're pre-made. I was thinking of doing that in the future, like possibly just whatever you want to put on there, like, you know, to Tom or, but as of now, it's just those regular green labels.
What do you expect them to be able to do with, for the 25 registration? Will they get one candle to, how much?
One candle, and also I'm like, if whatever you think would bring the most people in for a reasonable price, and that covers supplies. This wax is a very expensive
Yeah,
wax.
they're going to buy a candle that size.
Quite a bit more than $25. And I've taken classes that have been quite a bit more than 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it varies on whoever's, but candles do get expensive.
I would make my candle.
It's a rabbit. Yeah, big rabbit, you just keep on.
That's what I'm saying about, you know, set dates and set prices and all, it's whatever you think will be best for like your clientele and I'm not, whatever works you think, I'm not set on it to be like this, or it has to be Saturdays or something.
And how long are your classes?
It'll be just an hour.
An hour? Okay.
And you leave with the candle late.
3 weeks.
So is this like a partner program request, a club request, a vendor request?
So I know when you were talking with Allison, you were thinking of partner program. So if it was a partner program, we would need, in order to be on this level, it has to be a minimum of 2,500 a year. If not, it could be considered a club. You could get 2 complimentary hours a month at no charge. After that facility usage, you would start paying hourly rates.
That would be my recommendation, although we do want to be really transparent with town hall down. Spaces for this, you know.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't, I'm very confident we couldn't say it's always going to be the 3rd Saturday at 10 a.m. or, you know, random, something like that. It would have to be flexible month to month based on what we have booked. Like if there's a baby shower on here, the 3rd Saturday, then that doesn't work. But if not, and it's open, it would. So
Flexible, however your system works, if like I partner with Allison or whoever to tell me, okay, in December, this is your availability. That works for me. If that.
What about working with Lifelong?
Yeah, we partner with the Celebration Foundation for certain items, so I can pass along Kathleen Scipio to you as well, so you can actually work with the Celebration Foundation and have a partnership with them as well. So Yeah, absolutely. So for clubs, we'll just need your I'm sorry? Yeah, so, you're saying it would take an hour, but you're probably set up and breakdown, you're looking at like 3 hours probably? Or,
30.
okay, I got
Which
you.
would be the 2 hours total.
Yes, but I know Lindsay's going back to, but if we're charging, you know what I mean, I totally get that. Right,
So the club is a non-for-profit, so it would just need to be the cost of materials.
Okay.
But it could be a good way to start and build interest
Yeah.
and transition into.
To a
partner
program,
I
yeah.
just want to make sure you knew all the information up front, but I'm not.
Yeah, so like you said, as often as possible, if it's like, hey, we actually want to do 3 this month, then you'd have to start doing that hourly rate, you know what I mean? And then maybe like Lindsay's saying, it could turn into a partner program.
It has some progress.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So my only question to you is, do we want to do this like 3 months? And kind of see how it's going for you, and then if we need to regroup and move you into a different category or do something different with space, or, I mean, just kind of like regroup and say what's working, isn't working?
Yeah.
From both the resident and your side to make the program better and better.
That sounds
I would like to say, or even 3 to 6 months. I just want to regroup and make sure it's a win-win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds good.
yeah, that's normally what we do, just so we know we're helping you out where we can, you're telling us what you need, and we're also getting feedback from residents
And you
accordingly.
can fine tune at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's to help, not to hurt. So,
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
do I have a motion to approve the Class C Citizen LLC as a club on a trial basis? Motion. Catherine, second. Martha, second. All those in favor? Congratulations.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you again.
Should I just?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll follow up with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a whole different class.
And when my girls, everybody comes in like, wow, it's not, you don't even have to burn them half the time.
Yeah, just they kind of
Just
just
leave them open.
What I want to do is go ahead and proceed to number 7. And then,
Very welcome.
come back to the volunteer program. We'll do 7 in the back of the one because Charles is online.
Okay.
So, are you here to do that?
Hey, thank you. I'm Daryl Harvey, Director of Special Partnerships and Donated Goods for Goodwill Central Florida. We do your community yard sale every year. We just participated in here recently. I think it was the second or third year that we've done it. It went over fantastic. One of the questions we get when we do these things and we do the yard sales is where can we donate quicker without having to load the car up, different things like that. So I've been working with Allison. We talked through this a little bit about placing our donation bins. You see them around the city in different parts of the city. A lot of those, I'd say 90% of those are dropped off without the retail person's permission. They're rarely serviced. They're rarely watched over. Our bins are serviced. We have electronic sensors inside that tell us what the weight is, how much, if they're getting full, the level of them. They have solar sensors inside of them that kind of keeps that running. And we had talked about placing one in each village around Celebration. And I think she told me there was 8 villages within Celebration, if I'm correct. I may be off on that, but I think that's showing 8 of them. So that's what it is. The bins themselves, and I'm not sure if she put the attachment on. I sent her an email of it, but if you don't, I've got a picture of them. They're 4 feet by 4 feet. They're unintrusive. You place them in an unintrusive area. They have signage on them, so do not place anything on the ground. We do a weekly route of the bins to make sure that they're serviced, they're clean, they're cleaned out, when the driver that comes around. We also have an executive that lives here on property, that will definitely keep an eye on for us as well as works out of our corporate office. So that's our presentation. This is a no cost to you guys unless there's a rental fee to place them on property, but it's a sustainability project
that we are working with the city of Orlando, Lake Mary, Dr. Phillips, and we're moving out through, Central Florida with the donation that we would like your participation in it as well if we could.
And clothing is the most obvious item, right? But what else goes with that?
We can do everything from small housewares, candles, clothing, shoes, cutlery, dishes. They operate a mailbox, so the front of it folds down and you can basically place whatever would fit in a pretty good sized mailbox. This is what they look like. This is what they look like. So you can see the open door, you can pass it around if you'd like. So there's really, it's not big enough to put major, bigger household items in, but we keep a phone number on the front. If someone wants to donate those particular items, we got them to the donation express somewhere in the area.
Now, over by the high school, across the high school, what's the name of that? apartment complex? Emerson?
It's Emerson, yeah.
And back when there have been, there's a unit there for dropping off clothing.
We have one in Island
Yeah,
Village.
it's not us. There's a lot of thrift stores that have moved into the market and it's Thrift City and a couple other ones. They paint their boxes different colors. They have, some of them have different charities listed on them. But the amount of money that goes into those charities that they give back is very minimal. They don't service them, they drop them off. We're currently working with code enforcement on Central Florida and Orlando to have a lot of those boxes removed out of the city, but they don't service. So they end up on the ground, they don't do anything with them. We keep an eye on ours and we will have a weekly route runner that comes through each week that collects the items out.
And what about locations? I mean, have you discussed specific locations?
Not specific locations. We have only discussed it briefly with Allison, not briefly, but with Allison. And she suggested putting one, and you gotta forgive me, I haven't been to Celebration many times, one in each village at Celebration, and there's 8 different areas.
So I'm just curious, as to where within the village, where they're thinking of.
Aesthetically, is it gonna?
Yeah,
Where they're
my
thinking.
suggestion is, like, right here by the, the community centers, or things like that, it's a little bit out of the way.
But not every village has a community center, right? Not every village has an obvious sort of
Right.
center. if you will.
Well, Island Village already has.
Yeah, corners, like a corner of an intersection, easy to pull in, easy to pull out, so I can drop stuff off, easy to walk over, drop stuff in. You know, and the other side of it too is. Doing a
I'm sorry, every community doesn't have a pool, right? Pool area, no? Most.
Sorry, you said every like village? Yeah,
Maybe
yes, yeah, every village has a pool.
it's near the entrance of each of the pool. I'm just trying to think about, where these things gonna go?
I really don't see how much pushback we're gonna get. It's just a box being aesthetically pleasing in the middle of, yeah, we're.
How we're gonna be consistent from village to village and, so it's a little bit of planning I think needs to get on before we just start blocking stuff down, right?
Yeah, no, we were thinking of you guys where to place those. We can come out and we'll ride along with you. Identify specific areas that you want to place those. I wouldn't put them in a parking space, like you said, you want to take up anyone's parking space. Maybe like on a sidewalk, but off the sidewalk a little bit. We've placed some of them in like just backed into foliage, so they're just not as eye intrusive. Allison asked me one thing. Ours are blue. They're blue all over the city. She asked me if we could paint them green. I do have a total paint them green, so if it's something that you guys want to do that, we'd adopt your colors and paint them green, and then put our signage and everything on as well.
How are they, I know back in New York, we had so many, which were, I don't use them all the time, even the ones at church. People, unauthorized people, so to speak, would go into the boxes and things were strewn all over the place and finding it and taking what they want. How is that avoided?
You can't get in these, you can't physically crawl in. It's
They
what,
have the same type of boxes in the church and
well,
there were a lot of the homeless people. I know they need these
that's
things.
kind of what I was going to allude to, is
They
it's
do
stuff like homeless people doing that, and that's how we work. We don't place ours in those particular areas. So you don't have a lot of homeless. And we're running around.
We have a few people running around.
But, listen, here's the other side. If this becomes an issue, you pick up the phone and call us to come get it. It's pretty simple at that point. Do it over a trial period, 2 or 3 months. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, then we'll come get it. That's just the way we are.
Because that's the other way to think about it, is we could say, instead of putting one in every village, so we want to put
Like do like a test trial.
out of the community.
Yeah.
Let me speak to the last
Committee that is used for aesthetics in town.
So, ARC. So if this gets recommended by the Recreation Committee, we just have to go to ARC. They're the ones that make sure it looks pleasing to the rest of the community. If it doesn't work on Croa property, we could recommend CCDD, a different entity in town, to get you in. Another solution we could do is if you're interested, we can try for the committee, we can invite you once a month and bring those trucks if that's doable. And we can have a spot in town where it's like, hey, like Food Truck Friday, the second Friday of every month, there's gonna be 2 trucks, not Food Truck Friday, but like you would pick a Friday or a Monday or.
I think the idea of having a program. Well established.
Yep.
I don't know,
Recreation,
I
post
like the
recreation.
park, so I do use that when I do.
Yeah.
And nice sites and too.
Yeah.
I think we would approve it.
Yeah.
Have to go to art. And then have them decide where's the best place to explore them. And
Yeah.
as you said before, with the previous case, we go with the trial phase. Let's do it for 6 months. If it's working, hands up. If it's not working, come get it.
And I think it would be fair for you guys to say, okay, we put 8, but we've noticed only 4 getting filled
Yeah,
up,
absolutely.
whatever. I mean, again, a win-win partnership, because that's money for you guys.
Sure, absolutely.
And I want to respect that.
I love that you're getting green. I feel like that was gonna be a big.
Yeah.
Blue or green, like that.
Yeah. Okay, so then do we have a motion to approve a 3-month trial basis of green bins, 1 in each village for a total of 8? That the next step would go to ARC.
I have
Before we
one
move
copy.
that, Is 3 months enough or 6 months? Is 3 months?
I prefer 6 months, but
We
we'll
can,
go.
I'm
through each
not-
of them.
6 months? I just think 3 months may be before people hear about it and start to use them.
Great.
So let's do 6 months.
Yeah.
I have, I'd like to know where they're gonna go before I.
That's ARC.
But that- yeah, our call would be that. I
Can we
don't know.
postpone this, present it to ARC?
They
So-
definitely go to ARC.
That this will be presented to
They
ARC.
can't go there until we do this.
Yeah,
Correct,
we can
yes.
talk over. So we can just drop them off.
Yeah.
ARC does that. So our thing is saying,
Yes, I got a big thing
you can
about
go
where
where
it's
it's going.
So Catherine, what we could do is if the committee has like any specific recommendations on certain like locations where they live in town, you could provide that to me. I have to go to ARC either way, and they're the ones who will recommend the best location that would fit aesthetically pleasing. That will go to the board for
I
approval.
would direct that you already have one in Island Village in the middle of.
Is that approved?
But that's.
It's like Portland.
Yes. It's,
Portland, it's the apartment buildings. They control the parking lot.
yeah, so in my, and I've got a meeting with Portland Building on, Avenue next week, and so I can ask them, but more than likely, somebody dropped that in the parking lot. And it's about $500 to call a tow truck to get them removed. That's why you continue to see it.
No,
Right.
the apartment buildings, they enforce everything.
Yeah.
They've been allowed to have food trucks, they've been allowed to have parties in the parking lots.
Yeah.
They know exactly what's going on. Because they try to gear it towards their residents only, even though it's in the middle of a community.
Well, that was over then. All right, do I have a motion to approve Goodwill donation bins that will be painted green? We are proposing 6 months, 1 per village for a total of 8 to go to ARC.
So moved.
Tony, second. Lindsay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Awesome.
On to part 2.
Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
What's my next step?
So myself and Allison will reach out. We're gonna schedule a meeting with Danica. She's the oh my God, communications or not, community standards manager. Wow, I'm so sorry. And then we'll go around the town to look at best locations. And then once that ARC meeting occurs, we'll invite you there so you
Yeah.
can present.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
please do. Well, the ride along with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect.
One in my front yard.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming out. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
You too.
All right, we've tried on. Do we have anyone else?
Just Charles.
Okay. All right, so on the action discussion items, we are moving, we just finished number 7 and we're moving to number 1, which is review all fee waivers requests since reclassification of the payment system. Charles, I just kind of want to bring you up to speed on why this is getting put on the agenda. Since we did reclassification and a new pricing structure, including, a discount for not-for-profit. We've turned down every waiver request, quite honestly. And so, there's been, comments that we are now the Grinch of celebration, and, the purpose behind this committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we know that we went to the finance committee based on feedback from a brainstorming session that said we wanted park monitors. We know that was significant pricing added to the budget with us asking for those park monitors. So with that in mind, it was our frame of mind that if we're asking you to spend more money and we're taking away one of the main sources of revenue to give you some of that money to pay for park monitors, we needed to have the system for waivers in place. As you heard earlier in this meeting, there are still sponsorships opportunities where the town sponsors something versus just waiving it. But it's in extreme circumstances where this is like 2,000 people and the whole community is involved, whether it's the high schools or the kids or those. So that is a difference between the two. So Nikki, I am going to, this is to review all fee waiver requests. And just to let you know, Charles, we are going to go to a point where we're going to talk about what has been waived, what hasn't been waived, and then the third part of this is going to be grandfathered in. So we had a request 2 meetings ago where the Montessori school asked to continue to use the playground, and there was never any charge for it. And when it got brought up, it was like, well, we've been doing this since the start of our school and celebration. So that's where we're getting grandfather. So that'll come later in the conversation. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on where we're at the moment. So if we're looking at February of 2024 through August, there's been $19,000 in waiver requests to come through. And these are what has been approved. In March, that was when we had our new system, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you'll see like there was an approved. And then we approved a couple more in April, and then after that, we started denying stuff. Summer, we really didn't have any come in, and then that's when we started dining. The Toads Club request is a club, so there's not a space, that's not money that would be coming in. And Winter Wonderland, that was a partnership, right?
Correct. They're paying for the upcoming event for this Thursday.
Okay. So it's give and take on that.
Correct.
So Charles, can you tell us what CROA is thinking in this case?
So and I'm listening to everything you're saying. You're asking for CROA's position. I thought there's more that we're kind of going through, because that's January through May, right? I'm sorry. I'm trying to just understand what position are you asking for?
No, you're good. So as of the end of March, that's when the new pricing system went into place.
Right.
And then you'll see that in April, we ended up approving a lot because a lot of people didn't know. In this case, like the swim team, that was one of the ones that were grandfathered in. It was brand new. We really didn't know what was going on for that. But I guess one of our questions is, we're just asking, is the board still behind us? Because we're basically saying no. We're basically saying if you're a non-for-profit, we've given you the discount. And if you're a for-profit, then you are either you approve for a partner program and you pay accordingly. If you're a club, you get 2 hours free and then you pay accordingly. We just want to make sure that CROA is behind this, because we're pretty much saying no.
So let's kind of start with that. So I think when we did this, the sliding scale, I know it was the prior board that we started the conversation of the prior committee, where we started kind of ideating and trying to put a framework in place. And then I know with this current board, I think we finally got it approved. Actually, it was in April or May. So that's probably why you're starting to see that, because that's when I think we operationalized it. So I think we still saw some trickling in April and whatnot. With that said, sometimes the pendulum can swing too far in the other direction. And I think when we were kind of developing this in the prior committee and working and trying to get feedback and solve some of the pain points, a lot of the pain points were developing a system where we had kind of equitable processes and everyone kind of got a fair look at things and not trying to, give favoritism to one organization for the other.
Right.
So what I'm seeing here, you've been consistent, right? We're consistently saying no, but we're being consistent now. So I would say how we first kind of map this is that's testing to be accurate. Now feedback and making sure that we're doing this in the spirit of the community and adjusting things, that's really important. And if we're starting to hear feedback that, it's too strict or we're making certain exceptions in other cases or we're just losing events in total, I think we need to revisit it altogether. This is the first I'm looking at this, so just bear with me. I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. Tony, you were gonna say something.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think we're necessarily being too cringe. And I think when we're saying no, I think we're just applying the rule, right? We're saying, well, we established there was some established cost. That's something I didn't do that, right? We inherited it.
Yeah.
They said, these are the costs, and if you're not for profit, you're for profit. And presumably there was some thought given as to what those fees should be, right? And so what we're saying is, well, that is a fair and more than fair, sometimes really cheap, way to support you and your endeavors. So I just think what we're trying to do is say, let's just be equitable across and make an exception when it really should be an exception. Because what was happening is we were rubber stamping, I think, in the past. Everything was an exception. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm like, well, what's the point of having the rules, right?
Right.
So I think what we're doing is just trying to bring consistency to it. I don't think we would always say no to something. I mean, if somebody comes up and I'll think about the junior ROTC issue that came up. He needed the money and we said no. But what did some of us do right around? We gave a donation and he got what he needed anyway. So I think there's other ways for the community to achieve what it has to do. So I don't mind being known as the Grinch.
But to tag on to that too, the number one thing I hear from residents is they don't want the news going up. So you can't wave everything, like money to the Dollar Tree. So I think that goes back to part of the whole process for trying to do the framework was that.
And I'm a big believer of people value what they pay,
Yes.
right? And so asking people to pay a little bit to use our facility, I just think they'll spend more attention to it, they'll pay more attention to it, they'll take care of it better. I mean, they think the fees are too much, that's a different discussion. We can discuss whether they should be, less than what they are.
Yeah, and those fees were developed it was the first time we had raised them in 12 years.
Right.
And that was a collaboration between the Parks and Rec Committee and the Finance Committee. And though some of those fees were based on, we took survey of what like Malia was charging for a room and other local areas, what they were charging for AV, what they were party rental was charging. So all that research went in and that's how we got to that point.
And can I add on, ever since the fees have been changed, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
that we had more respectable groups, 1 and 2 Island Village. I know that's a lot more money. We haven't, knock on wood, had much damage because it's people who actually respect the facility, like you said. So.
So I think Tony was
Yeah.
on to something, and I think this is a good conversation, and I think the exception process may be where we need to spend some time kind of developing that out. What can we take a second look at? Because right now it's just kind of like yes, no, right? That's kind of where we're playing, right?
Right, proof denied. Yep.
Okay, so I think Tony, if I heard Tony correctly, I agree with his assessment. What constitutes an exception? And then maybe putting some guardrails around that. I don't know, we want to maybe kick that around for thought?
Yeah, I think where the most requests for exceptions are being made to date are people that we have done stuff annually for year after year. To be honest, ROTC was one of those. We explained that, hey, there's a new process in place. this is what it is. We're willing to give you a discount. And like we said, community members stepped up and helped anyhow. However, that's okay because it's a one-time event. In that exact same meeting was Montessori, who's wanting to use the brand new playground equipment every single day, all day. So, and it impacts the community, but it had been grandfathered in as well. So I think to go where you're going, Charles, on putting up guardrails, I almost think it's gonna have to be a case by case basis, and we could present to CROA what we think is got grandfathered year to date, like anybody we had done that for. To be honest, a lot of us didn't know that that was even happening with Montessori schools, so I still think even if we make that list, there's gonna be some that pop in that we go, oh, yeah.
Do we even have a grandfather clause written?
No.
Yeah,
That's
that's
probably, that's technically
That was gonna be my next question. How are we defining grandfathering? Because that's,
Technically, it doesn't exist and there is none.
Yeah, there isn't. It's just, the only reason it came up is someone saying, well, we've been doing this for years.
Well, just because you've been doing
Right.
it for years doesn't mean it's totally right.
I think Charles is onto something though. We could probably spend a little bit of time at least outlining what the box, what's the filter we're gonna use before we would even consider an exception. For example, I'm not just throwing it out as an idea. We might say, if it's for profit, don't even think about an exception. You're for profit.
I
You're
agree.
making money. So, it is what it is. So first filter might be a not-for-profit organization. Okay, I'm listening. Well, second might be needs-based, like everything else in the plan, right? What's your needs-based? So I don't know what the guardrail should be. I do know we should try to keep it pretty simple. So that's, since.
Yeah, it's like
it's filter, right? But I think you're also right that says, let's just see how the next few months go. Because we'll know in a few more months, 6 months or so, 3 or 4 months, what has been the pattern?
Yeah.
And then we can say, oh, okay, we're seeing this, this, and this, and this. That means the exception should be around this. I think to do it now, we kind of might as well throw a dart on the.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I just chime in?
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Charles, you could go ahead.
No, so I'll just ask, where is the feedback originating from about this Grinch? Like, is this, like, is this one, 'cause I'm imagining one or two people maybe kind of like chatting but I mean, I'm just curious, like for Nikki and staff, like, are you hearing direct complaints about this? I just want to make sure that we're.
So anyone that has asked for approval that was denied, we didn't hear anything directly to us, like no one called me or Sean Paul in this case. To be honest, after the sheriff request, that was where a lot of it came through because it felt that we would have a domino effect, that the sheriff would not want to take care of Celebration. And he never said anything like that. He was very gracious, very kind. There was nothing from the sheriff's department at all. But there was a view and swirl that had come back to me and a couple other committee members of saying, well, the Park and Recs committee kind of dug our grave. Now they're saying no to everything, that type of thing. So that is where some of that. So to your point, it's probably a couple bad apples spoiling the bunch, not the majority of the community by any means.
And I appreciate that. And I'm not saying that this conversation shouldn't happen, because I think this sounds like the next evolution of this process. I think this is a good conversation, but also I want to make sure that we're living in reality. If we're hearing that it's really not a concern with the groups that are directly asking for this, and then the few people that have time to kind of vilify this committee are trying to spread that narrative, then that's a different story. But nonetheless, I wanted to kind of get a little background. I do think this is an important conversation, so let's keep kicking it around.
Yeah, more community feedback. I want to make sure that I'm on the record for saying any group, club, organization, person that had anything to do with any request has been more than gracious, accepting, didn't pout, anything like that. So I just want to make sure that's established.
When it's explained, they understand.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the waiver requests are just people who always did it.
And there's a lot of sensitivity from us when we're making large investments right now. A lot of the sheriff's requests came back to, at that point, it was literally the month before we wrote the check for 30K to replace those fields. So there was some sensitivity on our end too, and once he heard we had just paid that, he was fine, to your point, Lindsay, understood where we were coming from on that. So there's a sensitivity on the committee's part of being good stewards of our homeowners' money. So, yeah. Well, then I think as long as, Charles, you're in a good place, to your point, Tony, let's give it a couple months, see how it goes, continue this conversation. Honestly, I just kind of wanted it on the record more that we are talking with CROA. This isn't just something we're doing as a committee. Keep our nose clean type of thing. And then if we get anything else, then we can establish a grandfather. Do you know, clear level 1, then you go to level 2, level 3. If you clear all 4, then maybe we need to look at truly grandfathering you into something. We can look at setting parameters around that. Yeah, so we think come the new year, March, April, we will be asked about the high school swim team. That one will come soon. And then at this point, we have denied Montessori. Is that correct, Nikki? Are they?
It's, well, they have to go to the board for
Yeah.
approval, so that will be on their agenda
That should be
soon.
on your agenda that they will be coming to the board for that.
That was the one that we quote unquote grandfathered.
No, that was the one that the recreation committee,
But yeah, that's the one, Charles, that's been like grandfathered here to do recess on the Spring Park open field as well as the Spring Park playground.
Again, there's no.
But
set
there's
in
no-
stone.
Yes, that's correct.
right, the
That's
committee
fine.
came up with, we're not really comfortable with it. If you want to take it to the next level, you can go to CROA, and that's where it's at now.
Profit as well.
And they're for profit.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
That's a full day and a lot of kids.
Yeah, and that severely impacts the community. A lot of people were complaining.
Which, you know, both are schools, but they're very different. The CHS is a not-for-profit. They do fundraising as well, so similar to ROTC. But they have, our understanding is they have had that free for meets, and without us, they do not have a place that they can go to have these swim meets. But how is that different than ROTC? So this is where it gets sticky.
And part of the thing, like the playground being a good example, like we put $460,000 into that playground.
Exactly.
When we talk about, when we talk about like fee waivers and things, like the way our reserves are funded and developed, we're kind of factoring in natural utilization from homeowner, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot that goes into that, and it's not just as easy as like, let's just flip it on yes or no, right? So that's where I think I would encourage this committee to keep that exception process on the radar, because I to your point, Vic, I do think it's going to come up sooner rather than later.
Well, that was going to you guys.
Montessori's coming to you, like it or not.
We passed.
Wonderful, thank you.
It was above our pay grade.
I mean, it was just really, to your point, we stated the amount of money that had been spent. We stated that there was not a large donation from them towards that. And
You need to.
it was not, it was, that was one that wasn't, again, they were not rude, but they were not pleased with the answer, and that's why it's coming to you.
I think it was also going to them because they felt that some of the fees that they do pay, some of the taxes or whatever,
Yes,
some
yeah.
of the money that they pay, and say, well, she thought that was.
They
So-
wanted, every other school does. They wanted to know if they started paying CROA dues, if that would mean they would get access to the playgrounds and maybe the pools and all of the other
Yeah.
amenities.
Yeah, they
too.
wanted to extrapolate it out.
Yeah.
but they're not a homeowner. They are a business in
They
town.
pay
So they
Canoa
do-
assessments.
They just do have their assessments. They don't.
Yeah.
So you'll see that in the packet coming up.
Mhm.
Then what we need to do is I'm gonna give us a deadline by February of 2026 meeting for CROA. 25, yeah, sorry, travel agent. It's year 25 in my world. We'll need to run a grandfather clause by you guys because we'll need to have it in place by the April meeting for our swim team. So if we do it in February, CROA can vote on it in March, and then swim team we'll know what our answer is for April. And those are the only two outstanding, right?
It's the school's,
Schools in
request.
general.
Yeah, it's just the school.
So, if the PTA wants to have chairs for setup, those types of things, what do we do in those types of cases? What do we do whether it's equipment versus space? So we'll need to, if there's staff hours versus just them going into the pool.
But there's that consistency, which is what we've really been striving for, because if we do one thing for one school, truly, we need to do it for all of them. So if we're allowing one school, say the playground situation, because that's the topic we're discussing, why then aren't we letting Creation Village use our playground?
Well, it would be profit versus non-for-profit in school.
Yeah, so I think that's
Or
just kind
public
of
versus
we
private,
need to
yeah.
know. Yeah.
All right, so that's our next thing, that's our next to do on our list. But starting in 2025, not December. Please.
Yep.
All right, Charles, do you have any other question from us or anything on this? I want to make sure we have you in a
No.
good spot.
No, nothing further. I appreciate the background on Montessori and, yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm just, and honestly, the reason why I haven't come to a few of these meetings, I really just like the committees to just kind of operate without board, kind of watching. And so if you need me, I'm always here. I just want to make sure I communicate that message. So, but I'll be here. I'm gonna just listen in for the rest of the meeting.
You're good. We wait the white flag. Don't worry. It's all good.
You're the easy committee. You're the easy committee. Trust me.
So with that, I'm gonna move from saying 1, 2, and 2.5 are complete, and going back to number 8, which is discussion on a volunteer program through town hall. I'm gonna turn it over to Nikki for explanation.
Okay, so Allison made this lovely PowerPoint presentation. So let me talk about volunteering. So we went to the Celebration High School. They had like a volunteer conference or whatnot for the kids, and we try to get the number of kids who are interested in volunteering, specifically with Parks and Recreation. And we got over 80 kids that were interested. That could not, they're not old enough to have a job or, someone who can't drive or have transportation. So we did a guinea pig trial where Marco, I'll put you on the spot, you and your family. Appreciate you guys helped us with a kids' night out back in September, or it was actually October. It was a Halloween one. And his kiddo, his wife, your wife's friend had such a blast, and the kids had a blast getting a chance to be involved with the community and the residents of the community, where we're like, this sparks something with us in Parks and Rec is how come we have all these big events? We keep talking about budget, staffing, and all. How come we can't have volunteers at these events? So Allison and I, our brains were starting to go. So she basically created this PowerPoint presentation of goals of what we wanted to achieve in Parks and Recreation that we wanted to share with the Recreation Committee. So the overall goal is we want to engage with the residents. So techniques, you're understanding their wants and needs. You're listening to what interests each volunteer. They are people, not numbers. So sometimes when we go to these events, I know some people go, oh, I want to always do that. Oh, I want to work with kids. I know we went to Windsor a few weeks ago, and they are in need of attention, where they're like, I wish I had a group. I know there's Celebration Foundation or whatnot, but some people just want to be a part of the event and be included. So that's kind of what we heard when it comes to volunteering. She used to work at Give Kids a World. I used to volunteer with Give Kids a World a lot. So I understand that we are people, not just numbers. And you do feel like You mean a lot when you're volunteering with the events. Utilizing online and off ways to connect. So Facebook groups to pick up shifts together, interacting from CROA to volunteers, posting volunteers of the week, etc. That's something we can definitely do. We're going to kind of show you further in depth 2 different volunteer management services if the committee thinks it's a good idea to continue this path. Offering opportunities for feedback, surveys. In Parks and Rec, we always do surveys. We love surveys. We always want to know. I don't want to always hear the positive feedback. I love the negative because that means I could do something better. Incorporate technology. Is sign up for shifts easy and accessible. So that's why we're looking at online systems. It's very quick to do it. Instead of waiting for a SaraNet message from a staff member, we can get it very quickly out to the residents so they could sign up on their own. Incentives. So we were thinking about having free things given, specialized volunteered shirts. The first 25 shifts you do, you get a free magnet or maybe something in the Celebration store, etc. Further down the road, we were thinking about potentially doing like a volunteer dinner at the end of the year, in honor of the volunteers. Giving back to the community. So volunteers, this could be for high schoolers. Like I said, over 80 high schoolers were interested. Volunteer for retired residents, just like I mentioned, Windsor. There's a few other residents. I know, Catherine, you helped us volunteer with the card. Yeah. And then you could volunteer as a group, just like the Celebration Marathon. There's a lot of kids that like to volunteer with the Boy Scouts. I know, Lindsay, your group also volunteers together. It helps you also be a team when you volunteer together as a group. Build a new program from the ground up. So we want to put Celebration on the map for a great place to live, work, play, and now volunteer. We want to show the residents that we're listening to their asks. That's what we get a lot with the front desk, as well as Parks and Rec, is what we can do to get back. And then proves things can be done internally. So I know people keep asking us in Parks and Rec, well, why can't you just reach out to Celebration Embrace, the foundation, use their volunteers? We want to be able to funnel it through ourselves. You honestly can't always rely on an organization to do it for you. Perfect example, we went to do this, we worked with Windsor, not put them on the spot, but we did this thing where we went with the front desk in Parks and Rec to basically, we're supposed to paint pumpkins and they could get their Crow IDs made at Windsor. We went to them. Problem was they organized the pumpkins. It didn't turn out. So we just walked in with Crow IDs. So we kind of had to rush and do our own thing. Long story short, turned out fine, but we want to be able to funnel these people in ourselves. I want to also be able to say that person I know has a background check. That person I know is clean. I don't want to really rely on someone else. That's a lot of internal liability here. So types of software that we were talking about. There's a software called Volgistics, just an overview that Allison gave. Roughly 4,900 organizations it serves. 100,000 leaders benefit in this. Over 5.9 million volunteers are tracked right now. This was developed in 2004. The system was developed for strictly for the technology of volunteer management. The system is developed by one of the founding members who aided in the pioneer use of computers for managing volunteer information. Volgistics pros and cons. Pros, you pay per volunteer. So 100 volunteers, you pay one price per month. For 200, it goes up a few dollars. Background checks are done through this software, which is very hard to find. It's web-based system, so you don't have to worry about those apps. Personalization and messages can be sent out through the system. So if we have like an emergency or whatnot, something gets canceled, it's easy to report or send that. Extensive reporting. So if the committee ever wanted some documentation or proof, we can run a report right away. If we did one manually, it's kind of through paperwork and it'd be more in an Excel sheet format. Currently, Town Hall is already familiar with this user-friendly program and spoke with previous volunteer services directors regarding both Volgistics and Volunteer Hub, which you'll learn in a few minutes, and stated Volgistics is better and easier. Volgistics is actually used with Give Kids the World, so that's why there's 2 people that are very familiar with this. Cons is it cannot be customized with logos or colors. I know that's a big thing, branding and celebration, and it's not pleasing to look with the eye. It's more about the technology aspect, not of how pretty it looks. These are kind of the features, of Volgistics. So like top security, software updates, free unlimited support, integrations with your existing websites, integrations with Verify First background check screening, customize. So she kind of has a whole list of what each one does. Let me see if I can get to. So the pricing on Volgistics, you're looking at as of right now, she kind of just did this for 100 people. You're looking at $336 per year for Volgistics. That's only for 100 people. Now it goes up. We were just basing this on starting low and working our way up.
And where were the ones?
So Allison and I put it in the 2025 budget where we budgeted for a volunteer software program. Now that is all up to, I know we budgeted for it, but I just wanted to work or ask the committee for their blessing. Do we go with the volunteer management, or would you be interested in us just starting baby steps and working our way up? Volunteer hub, there were some pros and cons with this one. It can be,
Different than Volgistics.
I'm sorry, yes, this is something completely different. Volunteer hub, pros can be customized with colors and logos, so you would get that celebration branding. Another pro holds on to reporting and many optional add-ons, so we can definitely run reports as well. Volunteer wait lists when certain shifts they want are full. That's not what Volgistics does. Once it's full, it disappears or it says sold out, compared to Volunteer Hub. If I had something, there's a wait list, so if someone cancels, they'll call that other person. Cons is background checks, options are non-existent. It would be on us to provide the background check, sorry. Not based off paying per volunteer. You're forced to hold on to and store a designated number if not using. So that was our biggest con that we saw was we want to be able to work with an organization or software that does background checks. This one, they basically told us we would have to do our own separate background checks and reach out to them as to why they were not approved. I feel like personally, we just don't want to be the middle person here. So looking at Volunteer Hub, if you're looking at Plus versus Pro, you're looking at $288 per month. So basically the Pro includes advanced permissions, ability to give some volunteers access to certain opportunities that require more training and credentials. Basically that would be if you're trying to run a register, if we ever did like alcohol, etc. Advanced waivers in case of expiring waivers. Kiosks, so check-in, check-out, hours, tracking module, and cloud file storage. So for the total, you're looking at between 4,300 to 3,400 for the reoccurring years. Basically what this one has is initial volunteer data imported, event configuration, volunteer scheduling, registration, recruitment, mobile capabilities, automated emails, text reminders, social integrations, that wait list we talked about, landing pages, and the reports. That's basically like a link for both of them. What 3 boxes are we looking for? Safety is our primary one, which would be background checks. Accessibility for both volunteers and staffing. We want to make sure it's nice and quick for both the residents and as well as management, and providing reports for both the board and the committee members. In conclusion, this was Allison who wrote this, not me. I've used Volgistics for 8 years and I've never had an issue with it. It's incredibly user-friendly, straightforward, and easily customizable. You tell the program what you do, show, and report, not the other way around. The background checks are a great selling point to aim towards the software. Other volunteer service directors stated they prefer Volgistics over a volunteer hub. And that was the presentation on that.
Open it up for comments, questions, concerns.
I think it sounds great. My concern would be like, are we gonna charge an extra $336 if we have 101 volunteers?
Yeah, right when it hits a certain number, you go above. That's something we could further. And that's something that, Catherine, we can further go into. Personally, I didn't think we would hit 100 the first year, you know what I mean?
Right.
No, it's just,
Of course.
what about we have 100 volunteers, but not all of them are active. Is there a way to keep track of? Like, can we deactivate somebody who has not been active for 6 months?
I mean, absolutely, you
To
can.
mark with the cost.
Correct, yes. That's something I could further go into detail with logistics as well as volunteer hub. So that way it's not eating up that one person. You know what I mean? I totally understand.
Or somebody says, or is there a way to just say, oh, well, I volunteered, but they never called?
So with Volgistics, you have to check in. So for example, like when I volunteered with Give Kids the World, you had to type in your PIN number to check in as well as check out. You can't just show up. It won't track it in the software. Once you check in, it'll tell you who's on site, who's a volunteer, and when they signed out. So usually the minimum is, well, not really, but the minimum shift is 4 hours. But I can't force someone to say, oh, you gotta volunteer for at least 25 hours a year or something,
Well,
you
no,
know?
at least we just need stats. Like if they don't volunteer at all in 1 year.
$36, I would, if we pay another.
Okay,
You get a
no, I
budget.
didn't know that whole, okay, it's over 100 and it's 105, we're paying more money, but if somebody's not active and we remove them and the roster goes down to 98, we're not paying the extra.
Well, that's something, as far as management, we could go in detail. So when we actually get a contract/agreement, we can actually see what it looks like. Cause I would love to ask, what does 200 look like
Yeah.
compared to 100?
Yes. Like, well, call lifelong and, or call embrace and see if they have anybody spare.
Right, and we could do online videos as well for like intros or require them to do an orientation before they volunteer. I mean, we could have sponsors, yeah, absolutely. That's,
But, I mean, you could.
well, we could definitely put our logo on there, but I think we're forced with the colors they give us. That's the only downfall.
Very, very important. So for the curve, for the thing curve, whatever we do on the planet, we have almost 1,000 volunteers. If you don't have an app or stuff like that, so we're not gonna be hard. So,
Even the little businesses, I'm sure would be more than happy.
I also think it's a great service to the volunteers. So for the 80 high school students, they are required to track it. They are required to say what days they did it, what time they did it, and what ends up is none of them track it. None of them remember what they did when they did it. And then it comes April, they have to turn it in for the end of the school year. And they're, I mean, all the parents asking me
This to sign.
Right. Fine. So in this case, it helps them as well track it and makes it easy for you guys to make sure what you're signing at the end of the year, and you don't remember what they did,
Yeah.
then it's
Correct,
good.
yeah.
So I think it's a accountability
Yes.
as well for the students, which I love that.
it is amazing.
I think we put a simple guardrail.
Okay.
Just a motion to approve it and spend, X dollars for
Correct.
whatever it is. A simple guardrail is, okay, so we'll approve it up to 200.
Yeah.
Once you get to 200, if it's gonna go past that, you gotta bring it back and we gotta say, how's it working? Is it, it's not working? That way you at least say, okay, well, it's not gonna cost you more than $500
Of course, yeah.
to test this thing. And if it's working, well, terrific. Then we'll figure out, oh, this is really working. How do we pass that cost on to the
Someone else.
Right. Well, if you can, right, if you're Ken and you need 1,000 volunteers. Okay, well, you're gonna need something like this.
Correct, yeah.
How do we pass some of the costs on to the organizations that are using it?
Well, and the other thing is hopefully we're saving costs by not having as much staff hours needed.
Yeah.
Correct,
Volunteers that are helping.
That's kind of the
So
goal.
in the end, we could actually come out ahead.
I think we charge every high school student with it.
I think there are programs like Avid at the high school where in order to get Bright Futures as a high school student, you have to have 100 hours for years. For Avid, they want you to have 200.
Hmm.
So there's certain programs within the high school that are requesting in order to get the better grade, more volunteer hours. So we let them know. I mean, I think this will have a domino effect and
Yeah.
it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
It'll be a slow
Absolutely.
start, but once people find out.
It will
yeah,
be.
Catches on, definitely.
And I do know like Debbie McDonald has a volunteer program as well, where people are coming to her looking for hours, so we can let her, know, hey, go to this, that.
Of course,
type thing.
yeah.
So, yeah,
And then Parks and Rec next is an oversight board. Sure. But,
Correct.
hey.
Even the schools have.
More money.
Correct.
so at this point, do we have a motion that we would recommend? It seems like we're all leaning towards logistics, that we would ask the Grand Manners Park and Rec team to explore further, see what it takes to, the next steps, put into place, promote CROA. Do I have a motion? Marco, Catherine, all those in favor?
Perfect. Okay.
I wish I had a pass-through button.
Yeah, right?
I like that a lot.
I do too. I'm gonna open it up for member comments. Tony?
Good.
Marco?
We have the master plan advisory committee now. And so I'll send an email to the new, and Nikki to talk about the next step they're going to do. It's in the sports courts and medical sports courts on the size lot B.
Okay.
So I will need your help and your guidance about the program, everything. It's already designed, but there's some material that we need to do as a part and rec.
Yeah, based on just what we learned. Yeah.
Yes. I'll need your help to do that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It's easy. That's it. I'm good.
I'm good as well. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Let's do it.
Next meeting is
Just a
scheduled
quick-
for December 5th,
December 10th.
December 10th, I might. So it's December 10th. And that's the last one of the calendar here.
Real quick, because I know there is a board workshop. I believe it's the 4th of December. Basically, moving forward, per Jacob, he's saying that we want to put stuff on the workshop. So basically at a board meeting, it's basically just approvals, not discussions. So those contracts that we're all talking about, you're probably going to be getting those via email in the next couple of days. So Jacob just recommended if you all could review that in an email. I'll make it very simple. So you're looking at one scope of work for recreation program, one scope of work for clubs,
That's
etc.
the work we did last.
That's the work that we did last time. You're just now gonna look at price and recommendations with management, like for management. You know how we say either a flat rate or a 20%? There's certain groups that told me like, if you did 20% of my tax statement or whatnot, it's not gonna come out because they're a nonprofit. So I'm gonna show you like recommendations that they suggested between management and us with the partner program, and just let me know via email if that's a yes or a no, so I can add it to the contract.
I love doing that.
Because unfortunately, December 10th is gonna be a little bit too late to add it to the packet for them, for the board.
Okay. Do, we still have stuff for the December 10th meeting then?
We do, as of
Okay.
right now, yes.
Okay. December 10th. Thank you, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Did someone adjourn the meeting?
Oh, did we adjourn? Did we adjourn? Did we-
Yeah, we voted.
We
Who
voted?
voted?
Marco said it, Catherine second.
Okay.
I don't know how we missed that one.
Through mutual friends.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks, everyone.
The other way, I haven't worked with